The problem is there were men who were getting into the church, who were striving after those positions, who were not qualified, they hadn't been trained, and their expectation was to please themselves rather than the Lord. We saw this last week where he talks about this godless world that is around all of them, and then the church is starting to look like that. He says this is what's expected. In the last days, people will be lovers of self. They will love money. They will love pleasure rather than be lovers of God. And as he sees this in the town of Ephesus all around him, he's starting to see that creep into the church through these false teachers. And this is what happens when the church looks to models to emulate that are bad models. Today we see people that they want a person who can just draw a crowd, someone who's funny, someone who's like that CEO, someone who can be an excellent speaker according to worldly standards. But in so doing, they bring up people who aren't fit to be there. In so doing, they bring in false teachers. Maybe they want the well-spoken celebrity pastor, but Paul paints another picture. He paints a picture of someone who is striving after godliness in the midst of a godless society. Paul wants us to know that those models that these godless people are putting out for, what we read in verses 1 to 9, is not the model to follow. Rather, he's to look to himself. Paul directs Timothy to look to Paul as a model for how he's endured and ultimately look to Jesus. So the big idea we have today is this. Because we've been saved to serve the Lord, we ought to follow godly examples whose aim in life is to be most useful to him as they follow Christ.